Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Classic Radio Rewind. I'm Barry Slinker, and as we start to get comfortable in the new 1-hour format, drop me a note at barry@wotrradionetwork.com and let me know if you're enjoying the new 1-hour format. Classic Radio Rewind is brought to you each week by the WOTR Radio Network. The WOTR Radio Network brings you the best in classic old-time radio with 4 live streaming stations, and you can hear those at WOTRradionetwork.com. Now on to this week's show. Coming up later, we'll hear from The Shadow from 1938, but we start this week off with Sergeant Joe Friday and Dragnet starring Jack Webb. Mr. Kelby, the manager of the Pink Rat Cafe, has been shot and killed by the Evans brothers during a robbery. From September 21st, 1952, this is Dragnet with The Big Shot. It's Classic Radio Rewind episode number 55, and we're happy that you can join us. Sit back and relax.
Sound off for Chesterfield. Chesterfield, first cigarette in America to give you premium quality in both regular and king size, brings you Dragnet.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to homicide detail. A nightclub manager has been robbed and killed. The killers made good their escape. Their identity is unknown. Your job, get them.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Wednesday, April 7th. It was warm in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of homicide detail. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Thad Brown, chief of detectives. My name's Friday. I was on the way back from R&I, and it was 1:46 p.m. when I got to the interrogation room.
Find anything?
Oh, they're checking it now. Mr. Seaton?
Yes, Sergeant.
I wonder if you'd mind going over all that happened just once more. You might have forgotten something, some little thing that might help us here.
All right. Where do you want me to start? Where I came in this morning?
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Well, I came into work about 8:30.
Is that the time you usually get there?
Yes, sir. It depends what time I catch my bus. Usually it's about then, though.
Was Mr. Kelby there then?
Yeah, he usually gets in around 8 or so, comes in, looks the place over. You know, checks the register, liquor supply in the bar, stuff like that. And then he goes to his office to count the money for the night before, get the deposit slip ready for the bank. That's what he was doing this morning when they came in.
You see him come in?
Yeah, I was in the kitchen when those two men came in. First, I thought they were salesmen. Both of them were dressed kind of nice. A lot of salesmen come in to see Kelby that time in the morning. I didn't figure anything was wrong.
They say anything to you, these men?
Well, no, not at first. They just stood there looking the place over. I went on peeling my potatoes. And then I heard one of them say that he guessed they might as well get it over with, and that's when they pulled the guns and told me it was a stick-up.
Go ahead.
Well, first, I didn't know quite what to do. I asked them if they was kidding, not to pull jokes like that, and I told them if it was a joke, it wasn't very funny. And then the big one come over and told me to keep my mouth shut, told me it wasn't any joke, and if I made a sound, they'd just soon blow my head off and look at me. Well, you just know I wasn't about to cause any trouble.
Did Mr. Kelby know they were in the place?
No, not then. You see, he keeps the door to his office closed when he's counting the money, and I thought about yelling to him, but then when I looked at those two guys, I thought about what they'd said about killing me. I decided not to.
What'd these men do then?
The tall one walked over to the door of Mr. Kelby's office and knocked on the door, and Mr. Kelby said for him to come in. And they opened the door and walked in. He saw the guns, asked them what they wanted. Told them they'd better get out of there with those guns, not to cause any trouble. The little one laughed at him and said they wanted the money and that Kelby was the one who shouldn't cause any trouble.
I see. Go ahead.
Well, the little one started to pick up the money and stuff it in his pockets, and Mr. Kelby told him they better leave it alone, that he had friends who'd take care of him. And the two of them said something I couldn't hear. The little one told Kelby that his friends wouldn't do him any good. That's when they shot him.
Which one actually shot him?
Oh, the little one. He's the one who said that thing about the friends.
Well, did you try to do anything to help Kelby while all this was going on?
Well, what could I do? I told you what those guys said. Kelby wanted to be a hero, save the money, fine. I wasn't his money, it belonged to the owners. Look, I tell you, Sergeant, money isn't worth that much. They nail you into that box and they don't throw a bank book in. Those guys told me to stay put, I stayed put.
What did these two fellas do after they shot Kelby?
Well, the big one was real surprised, like he didn't know the little one was going to do it. Yelled at him he was a fool, said he was a stupid fool. Those were his exact words. The little guy finished getting all the money and then they ran out. Well, I'll tell you, I was scared to death they were going to kill me, too. It looked like it for a minute, too.
How do you mean?
Well, when they ran through the kitchen of the back door, little one stopped and asked what they was going to do about me. I thought, sure, my number was up. Big one said not to make it any worse, to leave me alone. Then they ran out of the place. And boy, that's when I called the cops and those other guys, out there in the car. And then you came. The rest you know.
Now, you're sure that you've never seen any one of these men before?
No, sir, I'm pretty sure I haven't.
I wonder if you can give us some kind of a description on these two men.
Yeah, the big one was about 6'2", maybe 3. Weighed about 180 to 200. Dark, black curly hair.
Anything special about him? The way he talked? Any scars, anything like that?
No, nothing.
How was he dressed? Can you remember?
Yeah, he had on a gray suit. Glen plaid had kind of red in it, The suit looked expensive. He had black shoes, maroon tie.
Now, how about the smaller one? What did he look like?
Oh, he was a little one, 5, 6, or 7, 130, 35 pounds. He was dark, too, black hair, cut real short.
Uh-huh. How about his clothes?
Had on a blue suit. Looked like a gabardine. Single-breasted, light blue. Had on a yellow shirt and dark blue tie.
Would you know if there were any marks or scars on him?
Oh, yeah, he had a little tiny scar right here, on the edge of his mouth.
Uh-huh.
Made him look like he was smiling all the time.
Well, these are very good descriptions, Mr. Seaton. They're going to help us a lot here.
Yeah, well, like I said, I wasn't about to be a hero and try to stop these two, but I knew that you'd want to know what they looked like, so I tried to get all the dope I could.
We understand. Now, during the holdup, did either of these men use any names? One of them call the other by a name, anything like that?
Oh, let me think about that. Yeah, there was something. While they were in the office, while the little guy was picking up the money, the big one said, "Hurry up, Deuce." Yeah, he called him Deuce.
That was a smaller one?
Uh-huh, that's right, Deuce.
Joe?
Yeah.
I'll ask the stats office to make a run on the descriptions and MO for us. Check the oddity and the moniker file in the R&I office and see if they can come up with a deuce or anything on the scar.
That'll be fine, Frank. Thanks a lot.
Hey, you got cigarettes, Sergeant?
Yeah. There you go.
Thanks. How about a match?
Sure. There you are.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a terrible thing, Kelby being shot. I'll probably lose my job.
How's that?
I'll probably lose my job. The owners will figure, sure, I should have tried to stop those guys. Well, those are the breaks.
You said that when these men came in, the door to the manager's office was closed. Is that right?
Oh, yes, sir. Mr. Kelby always kept it closed when he counted the money, just like I said.
Uh-huh. Well, then it looks like the men knew that Kelby would be checking the money at that time, doesn't it? That they knew the layout of the place when they came in.
Yeah, I never thought of that. By gosh, that's what must have happened. They sure seemed to know what was going on.
Anybody else that was usually around at that time, would you know? Anybody that might have known that the manager worked the accounts at that particular time?
No, there's nobody else around. But I don't think that Mr. Kelby kept it a secret about the money.
Was Kelby conscious at all after he was shot? Do you remember that?
Not more than a minute. I ran over to him right after the man left. I wanted to see if I could help,
Okay.
Yeah, he was shot pretty bad. They'd hit him in the stomach. He was all doubled up. Terrible. He looked up at me and said, "I know." And his voice kind of trailed off. That's all. Just, I know.
Stats office is making the run, Joe. We got out the local and the APB on the suspects. Nothing that matches the name Deuce and nothing on the scar.
Anything from the crime lab yet?
No. Checked by the office. While I was there, Murphy called from Georgia Street.
Anything?
Yeah, not good.
What?
Kelby died, never regained consciousness.
With the death of the victim, any information he might have given us about his killers was gone. The one witness to the murder was shown the mug books, but was unable to identify the suspects. Sergeants Gil Cenas and Danny Galindo canvassed the neighborhood and came up with the driver of a bakery truck who thought he'd seen the killers leave the club. He told them that 2 men answering the description given us had walked out of the club and gotten into a late model Mercury sedan. He'd not been able to get the license number of the car, however. He was brought into the office and shown the mug books, but he was unable to point out the killers for us. In checking the neighborhood, Cenas and Galindo had come up with a waitress who had seen 2 men answering the description of the killers loitering around the area. She also described the Mercury sedan, but said that she hadn't paid much attention to it. Because of the smoothness with which the holdup men had operated, indications led us to believe that they had been tipped off by somebody working for the club. Proceeding with this theory, we checked with the club owner, a Mr. John Watson. We found him in the kitchen of his home.
Hope you don't mind if I finish up here, officer.
No, not at all, Mr. Watson.
Guess it seems a little silly to you for a man to be in the kitchen. Kind of a hobby of mine, cooking.
Yes, sir?
Making a cheesecake. Got some friends coming over tonight. Figured a cheesecake might taste good later in the evening.
Yes, sir. You go right ahead. We just have a few questions we'd like to ask you.
About the robbery? Terrible thing. I don't understand why Kelby just didn't give him the money. Not give him any reason to shoot.
Do you have any idea who might have known that the money would be in the office at the time?
You know, almost everyone that worked in the place, not making mention of the salesman that came in. Would you hand me that rolling pin over there?
Yeah. Here you are.
Thanks. Crust to a cheesecake's important. That's one of the reasons I make it myself. Can't stand a soggy crust.
Yes, sir. Are there any of your employees that you think might do a thing like this?
Well, that'd be hard to say. I didn't get around the club much. Once in a while, I'd drop by, chat with Kelby. He did the hiring and firing. As long as the place made money, I didn't interfere.
Well, the way it looks, it could be very likely that one of the employees did it. The men who pulled the job seem to know just what they were doing.
That right?
Yes, sir.
I wonder if we could look through your employment records.
Sure, of course. Anything I can do to help out in this thing. Would you hand me that pan over there?
Where? This one?
Yeah. Thanks. Get this crust into it, and the cheesecake's about ready. Yeah, sure, you can look at the record. Don't see what that's going to show, but you're welcome to them.
What kind of a car do you drive, Mr. Watson?
New Lincoln. Just got it a couple of weeks ago.
Any of your employees drive a late model Mercury that you might know of?
No. Oh, like I said, I don't really have a lot to do with the actual operation of the club. Kelby took care of that. Good manager. Did a fine job.
Can you tell us how much money they took, sir?
Well, near as we can tell, it came to a little over $1,100. Some of that was in checks, you know, that we cashed for our customers. Well, that finishes that. Get this together. Now, get it in the oven. Looks good, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
You should taste it. Set it for 350 for 25 minutes, and that does it. Yeah. Now then, can I get you officers anything? Cup of coffee, something like that?
No, sir. If you just arrange for us to check your employment records.
Certainly. I'll call the club right away.
We'd appreciate that.
My brother-in-law's down there looking after things now. He's an idiot. Never could get a job on his own. I only hired him because my wife insisted on it. Yeah, he'd probably botch up the whole thing. Usually does.
Well, if you'd call him, sir.
How's Kelby's condition? Going to be laid up long?
Well, Mr. Kelby's dead, sir. We thought you knew.
No, I hadn't heard. Oh, I can hardly believe it. Such a ruthless thing, just terrible. Kelby was such a good man. Everybody that worked for him liked him. Didn't have an enemy in the world.
He had two. We went back 5 years into the employment records of the club. There were over 200 names. Each of them had to be checked out. Frank and I spent 2 months running them down. In all instances, the people interviewed had alibis, or else they could explain their action at the time of the robbery and killing. In each instance, if the person owned an automobile, it was checked. A broadcast and an APB had been gotten out on the late model Mercury seen at the club, but there had been no answers. No replies had come in on the descriptions of the two suspects. June 17th, we were checking out the last 3 names on the list. One of the 3, a David Adams, listed a rooming house on West 34th Street as his home address. We checked with the landlady, a Mrs. Elvia Collins.
Adams? Sure, he lives here, 2nd floor front.
Wonder if we could talk to him, ma'am.
Sure, got no reason to say you can't. Come in.
Thank you, ma'am.
He isn't in right now. Went out about an hour ago. Said he had to lead on a job, and I sure hope he gets it. He's a couple of months behind in his rent.
That's fine.
Sit down. Just take any chair.
Thank you, Miss Collins.
You officers like anything? Mint on the table there. Help yourself.
No, thank you. Adams give you any idea when he might be back?
No, he didn't say right out. I expect he'll be here by 6.
How's that, ma'am?
That's when we serve dinner. Mr. Adams hasn't missed more than 4 meals since he's been living here.
What's this Adams look like?
Oh, little man. Sort of like my first husband, little dried-up man.
Well, how old would you say he is?
Well, I know exactly. He baked his birthday cake last Wednesday. 46 candles and 1 for luck.
About how tall would you say, ma'am?
5'6" or so.
How about his weight?
Maybe 120, and that'd have to be soaking wet. He's a real little man.
Is he dark or light?
I beg pardon?
His hair, is it dark or light?
Oh, light. A real silky hair, what little there is left of it. Funny the way he combs it. Never could figure it out why a man would comb his hair that way.
What's that, ma'am?
Well, you see, he's only got a little bit of hair on one side. He lets it grow real long, and then he combs it all the way over the top of his head, so it'll look like he's got a lot of hair. He really doesn't, though. It's silly. He's pretty vain about other things, too.
Does he have any friends in the building, Miss Collins?
Well, there's his 2 cousins. They've moved, though.
How long ago did they move?
Well, let's see. Must have been about 2-3 months ago. Yes, that much, anyway.
Well, what did these two cousins look like, Miss Collins? Can you describe them?
Well, you just bet I can. I had a lot of trouble with them two, always drinking. First one, he was a big one. 6 feet, anyway. Had dark hair. Weighed maybe 200 pounds.
Miss Collins, how about his complexion?
Dark.
Anything outstanding about him?
Well, now, what do you mean outstanding?
Well, I mean anything about him that struck you as being different, maybe? Anything that attracted your attention, something like that?
No.
Well, what about the number 2 man? How old was he?
Well, he was a little younger. 35 or maybe 37, around there.
How tall would you say he was, Miss Collins?
Well, he was a little man. 5'6" or 7.
How much do you figure he weighed, would you know?
130 pounds or so.
How about his complexion?
Dark. Just like the other one.
Anything outstanding about him? Scars, tattoos, maybe anything like that?
Yes, he had a scar. Right on the corner of his mouth. Made him look like he was smirking all the time. It was a real dirty look.
What are these men's names, Miss Collins?
Well, now, the big one was called Al Evans.
Uh-huh.
The little one's name was Bill Evans. They was brothers.
Did they have a car?
Oh, yes, a late one. It was real pretty.
You know what make it was?
No. No, I'm sorry, but I can't tell one kind from another. Sure was a nice-looking one, though. A lot of chrome all over it.
Do you have any idea where they might be now, where they moved to?
No, I haven't. Well, Mr. Adams can probably tell you, though.
I see.
Oh, that might be him now. I'll see.
Well, we'll go with you, ma'am, all right?
Are you expecting any trouble? What's this all about, anyway? Mr. Adams done something wrong? Oh, I do hope not. He's a little man, but he's awfully nice.
We'd just like to talk to him.
Oh, I sure hope they won't be any trouble. Oh, Mr. Adams.
Yes, Miss Collins?
These gentlemen would like to talk to you.
Oh? Something I can do for you?
Are you David Adams?
Yes, sir, that's right.
We're police officers, Mr. Adams. My name's Friday. This is my partner, Frank Smith.
How do you do?
Evans.
What is it you wanted?
Well, it might be better if we talked in your room.
All right, but I still don't see what it is you want.
Did you get the job?
No, Mrs. Collins, but I've got another lead. Don't worry, I'll be able to take care of that matter by the first next week.
Oh, it's all right, Mr. Adams. I understand.
This is it. It's not much. Just sit down anywhere.
Thank you.
You want to tell me what this is all about now? What it is that you want with me?
Well, we'd like to talk to you about the robbery of the Pink Rat Cafe last April. Manager was killed.
The Pink Rat, yes. I worked there a couple of years ago, but I don't think I've been in the place since then. I lost the job. Kelby fired me for dropping a load of dishes.
Did you have an argument at the time?
Well, a little one, yeah. I was sore. He was, too. Wanted me to pay for the dishes. I didn't feel it was my fault. I told him so. He had a few words. Nothing serious, so why?
Mr. Kelby was killed in the holdup at the bar.
Yes, I know. That's too bad. But you surely don't think I had anything to do with that, do you?
Well, that's what we're trying to find out.
Well, why do you think I'd have anything to do with it? I haven't been near the place for a couple of years.
Well, the way the thing was pulled, the whole M.O. makes it look like it's an inside job. Somebody had to give the layout, tell him that Kelby would be in his office with the money at that time. It all points to somebody that either works there now or who did work there.
Yes, but why me?
Well, your name was on the list. It had to be checked out.
Adams, you got any relatives in town?
Not now. I had a couple of cousins. They were out here for a while.
What are their names?
Al and Bill Evans.
Mind if we look around your room?
No, I got nothing to hide. Go ahead and look around. You won't find anything.
Thanks.
What is it about my cousins? You figure they had something to do with the thing?
Well, we think they might have. Their descriptions match the ones we got from the witnesses.
You've been talking to old Mrs. Collins. She's the one who told you about Al and Bill, isn't she?
Well, who told us isn't important, Adam?
You don't have to admit it. I know. You're a busybody, always getting your nose into somebody else's business. Oh, Harpy.
Joe,
Yeah.
look at here.
What's this gun for, Adams?
You never know when somebody's going to try to break into the house. It's protection, that's all.
You never had it out of the house, huh?
Not since I bought it. It's a 32, though. What are you so interested for? Kelby was killed with a 38. Well, he was, wasn't he? Seems to me I heard it on the radio or read it in one of the papers.
No, you didn't. The caliber of the gun that killed him wasn't released. How'd you know?
I must have read it in the paper, like I said.
No, this won't work, mister. I think maybe we better talk to you downtown, huh?
You going to arrest me?
Just like to talk to you downtown. Let's go.
Well, sure, but I got nothing to hide.
Well, you still got to come up with an explanation for knowing about that gun.
Description we got matches your cousin's. You know about the gun. You got a lot to explain.
I don't want to go to jail.
It's too bad, Adam. You should have thought about that before you got involved in this.
Well, if I tell you, if I help you get the guys that did it, will you give me a break?
Well, we can't make any deals.
Well, I don't want to go to jail. You can't do anything for me, huh?
All we can do is see that the district attorney's office knows that you've helped.
But you'll tell him, huh? If I give you a hand?
He'll know about it.
Okay. I got claustrophobia. Put me in a cell and drive me nuts. I'll tell you who did the job. More than that,
Yeah.
I can show you the gun they used.
listening to Dragnet, the authentic story of your police force in action.
Listen to what the nation's press has had to say about Chesterfield's.
Atlantic City Evening Union. Wholesalers and retailers report an extraordinary demand for Chesterfields in both sizes, with sellouts in many instances.
Cleveland Press. Dealers everywhere report the big pack sale phenomenal. Last week in Cleveland, some areas reported the long-size Chesterfield outsold all other brands.
And from all over the country, we're getting reports from dealers telling us no product they ever handled has grown so fast in so short a time as king-size Chesterfields.
Yes, with the buying public today, high quality for the money is a must. And that's why so many smokers are changing to Chesterfield. First cigarette in America to give you premium quality in both regular and king size. King size Chesterfield is exactly the same as regular Chesterfield, except it's larger. Contains so much more of the same tobacco, it gives you a 21% longer smoke, yet costs very little more.
And the tobacco in king-size Chesterfield is of better quality and higher price than the tobacco in any other king-size cigarette.
Try Chesterfield. Either way you like them, regular or king size, they're much milder. Chesterfield gives you the best possible smoke.
We took David Adams back to the office and checked the gun with pawn shop records. It was clean. We printed him and checked him through R&I. We took him over to Westlake Park, and he showed us the approximate place in the lake where the gun had been thrown. He explained that his two cousins had talked him into helping them with the robbery of the club. He also said that as soon as he found out that there'd been a shooting, he'd washed his hands of the entire affair and told them that he'd have nothing more to do with it. The loot from the robbery had been divided between the two cousins, Adams taking no part of it. It took us 2 hours of searching before we were able to find the gun. It was turned over to Russ Camp in ballistics. He fired test shots from the gun, and comparison with the death bullet showed that it was the murder weapon. Markings on the shell casing found at the scene of the crime were the same as those left on the test casing. Adams told us that Bill Evans owned a late model Mercury sedan and that the two brothers had left for St. Louis in the car. He also was able to give us the license number. We checked with DMV and they told us that the legal owner was a finance company on Crenshaw. The manager there told us that their payments were up to date. They were able to give us a St. Louis address used as a reference by Bill Evans. We called the St. Louis Police Department, gave them a rundown, and asked them to pick up the Evans brothers for us. The witness to the killing was unable to identify David Adams as one of the holdup men. He was taken to the main jail and booked on suspicion of 287 PC. Frank and I waited for word from the St. Louis Police Department.
They're all the same, aren't they, Joe?
What do you mean?
I'll put any of them in a tight spot, and they'll spill all they know to save their skins.
Well, it seems that way, doesn't it?
Adams seems pretty sincere, though. Seems like he does really want to help.
Well, we'll know more when we hear from St. Louis.
You figure that Adams is telling the truth?
I don't know. The story seems to check out about how he laid the thing out for him, showing us where the gun was. Being that far back in his room, Red, make that part about him not taking any of the money fit. I'll get it. Homicide Friday. Yeah, I'll take it. Mello. Yeah. Yeah, we've been waiting to hear from you. Did you pick up the Evans brothers? Uh-huh. Yeah, wait a minute. Toss me that pad, will you, Frank?
Yeah, here.
Thanks. Yeah, all right, go ahead. Uh-huh. What was that again? I didn't... Yeah, I got it. Okay, thanks. Anything we can do for you, give us a call. Yeah, sure, we sure appreciate it. Right, bye. Well, that does it.
What do you mean?
St. Louis checked the address. They'd been there all right, but they left this morning.
Any idea where they went?
Yeah, the Evans boys told us.
Huh?
They left a forwarding address. Motel out on Ventura Boulevard. Frank and I notified Captain Lorman of the new developments. We talked to the manager of the motel, and she told us that she did have a reservation for June 24th under the name Evans. She told us that they'd be in Cottage 12. In view of the fact that the suspects had not been alarmed, we decided not to put out an APB on the car. We felt reasonably sure that having made the reservations, they'd keep them. But in the event the suspects arrived earlier than expected, a surveillance was placed on the motel 24 hours a day. Sergeants Howard Hudson and Bill Cummings took the period from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Frank and I covered the other 12 hours. Directly across from the motel was a used car lot. We talked to the manager, and he gave us permission to sit in any one of his cars while keeping the place under surveillance. As we relieved each other, the police car was taken back to the city hall so there would be no indication that the place was staked out. 4 days passed. No sign of the suspects. June 23rd, 4:32 a.m.
Joe.
Yeah, Mercury sedan. License checks. 2 men.
Stopping at the manager's cottage. They're ringing the bell.
Yeah, looks like they're signing the register.
Must be. There. She's giving him the key.
All right, let's let them get to the cottage. We told her we would.
All right.
And there's the landlady's signal. Let's go.
Right.
All right, cover me.
Yeah.
Who is it?
This is the manager. Gonna have to move your car.
Huh?
You gotta move your car. Put it in the back.
What do you want? Stand still.
Hey, Joe, get the other one.
Yeah.
Get away from me, cop. Leave me alone.
All right, give it up, mister.
I'm getting out. If you got any brains, you ain't gonna try to stop me.
You're going no place, mister. You can't get over that wall. Throw that gun out here. You haven't got a chance.
You're off your rocker. You'll never take me.
All right, hold it up, Evans.
I got no gun. I dropped it. You see, I got no gun. Get a doctor for me, huh? Or hurt.
Yeah, we'll call one.
You didn't have to shoot, did you? Lousy deal. You didn't have to shoot.
You didn't give me much choice, mister.
I wasn't trying to hit you, just trying to scare you, that's all. I didn't want to hit you. I'm a good shot. I knew what I was doing.
Yeah, you proved you're a good shot.
What do you mean?
When you killed Kelby.
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On October 4th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 87, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial. Nose, throat, and accessory organs not adversely affected by smoking Chesterfields. First such report ever published about any cigarette.
Yes, and it applies only to Chesterfield. A responsible consulting organization has reported the results of a continuing study by a competent medical specialist and his staff on the effects of smoking Chesterfield cigarettes. A group of people from various walks of life was organized to smoke only Chesterfields. For 6 months, this group of men and women smoked their normal amount of Chesterfields, 10 to 40 a day. 45% of the group smoked Chesterfields continually from 1 to 30 years, for an average of 10 years each. At the beginning and at the end of the 6 months period, each smoker was given a thorough examination, including X-ray pictures, by the medical specialist and his assistants. The examination covered the sinuses as well as the nose, ears, and throat. The medical specialist, after a thorough examination of every member of the group, stated, quote, "It is my opinion that the ears, nose, throat, and accessory organs of all participating subjects examined by me were not adversely affected in the 6 months period by smoking the cigarettes provided," unquote. Now remember this Chesterfield report. It's the first such report ever published about any cigarette.
Nose, throat, and accessory organs not adversely affected by smoking Chesterfields.
Buy Chesterfield either way you like 'em, regular or king size. Chesterfield gives you the best possible smoke.
William M. Evans and Alfred T. Evans were tried and convicted of murder in the first degree. They received life sentences in the state penitentiary. Because David R. Adams had turned state's evidence, and since he was not actually involved in the crime, in the interest of justice, the charges against him were dismissed and he was released from custody. This program is dedicated to the 59th Annual Conference of the International Association of Chiefs of Police held in Los Angeles this week. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Technical advisors Captain Jack Donahoe, Sergeant Marty Wynn, Sergeant Vance Brasher. Heard tonight were Ben Alexander, Virginia Gregg, Jack Crucian. Script by John Robinson. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
These great programs sound off for Chesterfield. Radio, Dragnet, The Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis Show, and every weekday, Arthur Godfrey Time. On television, Dragnet, Gangbusters, Arthur Godfrey and his friends in the Perry Como Show.
Tomorrow, you'll want to sound off for Chesterfields, because either way you like 'em, regular or king size, Chesterfield gives you the best possible smoke.
Chesterfield has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
This is NBC, the national broadcasting company.
That was Jack Webb as Sergeant Joe Friday in Dragnet with the episode titled The Big Shot, as originally heard September 21st, 1952. Coming up after the break, we will hear from Lamont Cranston as The Shadow as Classic Radio Rewind returns after these important messages. Stay tuned, we're going to be right back. Welcome back to Classic Radio Rewind. I'm Barry Slinker, and coming up next we have a thrilling adventure of The Shadow starring William Johnstone. A timid man touring a prison visits the death house and makes the mistake of sitting in the electric chair. After he is suspiciously electrocuted, The Shadow investigates. From December 18th in 1938, it's The Shadow starring William Johnstone as Lamont Cranston and The Shadow with Agnes Moorehead as Margot Lane in Guest of Death.
What evil lurks in the hearts of men. The Shadow knows.
Your local blue coal dealer presents The Shadow. These half-hour dramatizations are designed to forcibly demonstrate to old and young alike that crime does not pay. Today, at the close of our Shadow adventure, we have a distinguished guest whom we are very anxious to present to our audience. Our guest is a very charming young lady who spends her time preventing crime. I know you will all be interested to hear what she has to say, so be sure to listen.
Before today's exciting adventure with the Shadow, a word with you homeowners. Wouldn't you welcome steadier, more healthful heat throughout your home this winter? Wouldn't you like to put a stop to colds in your family brought on by on and off variations of heat? Then be sure to order Blue Coal next time you need a supply of fuel. It's America's finest anthracite. Your family will enjoy Blue Coal's dependable, even warmth. You'll welcome its greater health protection and all-around economy. Ask for Blue Coal by name. It's the solid fuel for solid comfort. The Shadow, mysterious character who aids those in distress and helps the forces of law and order, is in reality Lamont Cranston, wealthy young man about town. Cranston's friend and companion, the lovely Margot Lane, is the only person who knows to whom the unseen voice belongs, the only one who knows the true identity of that master of other people's minds, the Shadow. Today's story, Guest of Death.
Guard, this is certainly a tremendous prison, isn't it? I had no idea it was so big.
And this is your first visit here?
Yes, Mr. Kesey. I'm in town on a convention. One of the boys gave me the pass to the prison. I was afraid he might be playing a joke on me that might be a fake.
Oh, the pass is quite good, quite good. Entitled you to a complete tour of the prison.
Boy, will this be something to tell the folks back home. Oh, excuse me, guard. Do you mind if I ask you a question?
Not at all. What is it?
That little gray building down there across the courtyard. What is that?
That's the death house.
Oh. Well, I don't suppose you take visitors in there, too, do you?
Oh, yes, certainly. You want to see it, of course.
Well, Mr. Kesey, well, I guess it would be a thrill.
Thrill? Yes, it'll be the greatest thrill you've ever experienced. Now, here's the last site on your tour. Step right in, please.
Thank you. What place is this, Mr. Kesey?
The building you saw across the courtyard. The death house.
Oh. Oh, I see.
Oh, don't be afraid. Step right in.
Oh, thank you.
There, you see? It's not an unpleasant room at all, is it?
Well, not in appearance, no. But, Mr. Kesey, when you start to think of the men that have died here, what...
Oh, nonsense. Death is nothing to fear. There's a majesty and nobility about it that makes people's revulsion stupid. Those benches there are the observer's seats.
Uh-huh.
The pre-execution cells are just beyond that door.
Uh-huh.
And this, as you see, is the electric chair.
Yeah. Say, it's quite warm in here, isn't it?
I suppose, a bit. This panel here is where the executioner stands. He holds his hand on the switch, and at a signal from the warden, he throws it in, like this. Oh, now, don't be alarmed.
Shouldn't we leave now?
First, of course, you'll want to sit in the chair?
But no, I hadn't thought of anything like that at all.
Oh, my. You're a timid soul. Why, this is an experience you'll never have again. Here, let me help you. Just sit right down.
Well, if it's the customary thing, why...
Of course, there you are. You see, nothing to it at all, is there?
Imagine. Men have died just like this.
Yes, men have died. Just like that. Here, I'll show you how it feels to be strapped in.
Well, I can imagine how.
There, the chest strap across here.
You've drawn that a bit tight, Mr. Kesey. It took the wind out of me.
That's the way it goes. Now the right arm strap, like that. And the left.
Well, this thing certainly hugs a man close, doesn't it?
Yes. It's a powerful embrace. Now we'll strap the left leg and the right leg, like this. Now, there you are. Ready for the most noble and majestic experience of all.
God. What do you mean?
Death.
No! No! Keep away from that! Don't!
Extra. Visitor dies in death house. Read all about it. Visitor dies in death house. Extra. Visitor dies in death house. Read all about it.
Shall I call you a taxi, sir?
Yes, please. Well, Margot, how did you like the opera?
Oh, it was simply grand, Lamont, but I'm tired. I'll be glad to get home.
Read all about it. Extra. Visitor dies in death house. Extra,
What's that? Visitor dies in death house?
Oh, now, Lamont, please, let's not spoil a lovely night with scare headlines. People are liable to die most any place.
Your cab, sir?
Read all about it. Visitor dies
A boy! A boy!
Our cab's waiting, Lamont.
Just a moment, Margot. I have reason for wanting to know the story back of that headline.
Paper, sir?
Yes, son. There you are.
Oh, thank you, sir. Read all about it. Extra.
All right, Margot. Sorry to keep you waiting.
That's all right. Oh, I know you're just dying to get to your story, so go right ahead, Lamont. Go ahead, read it. Here, I'll switch on the light.
Well, thank you, Margot. Well, there isn't much to it. Newspaper's strangely brief. Merely the headlines and a 7-line box on the first page.
What does it say?
Well, simply that a visitor died in the death house on a tour of inspection.
There doesn't seem much in that to excite the imagination of the shadow.
I'm not so sure about that, Margot.
Surely you don't see anything sinister in such a bare announcement, Lamont?
That's just the point, Margot. The account is too bare.
What do you mean?
Well, the newspapers don't seem to know anything. And it says here that the prison officials are saying nothing.
Oh, perhaps there's nothing more to say.
There's an old proverb, Margot, to the effect that virtue rarely lies behind a tight lip.
Well, I noticed that ferret gleam in your eye, so I might as well accustom myself to the idea that you're off on another adventure in crime.
Yes, Margot. Off on an adventure that promises to be one of the most exciting I've ever had.
What they going to do about things like this?
Quiet, boys. Hello? Commissioner Weston speaking. What? You can't get the warden on the phone?
Yeah, I can't.
This is the police department. He can't ignore us. Well, you try him again, and keep trying until you get him. Now, hold it a minute, boys. Brophy.
Yeah?
What happened when you went out to prison?
Well, the same thing that happened to your phone call, Chief. Nothing.
Couldn't you get any information?
All I could find out was that the guy was in town on a furniture convention. He got a pass to see the prison, and some guard by the name of Kesey took him through.
Did you question this Kesey?
He couldn't get a hold of him.
Why not?
Well, Chief, we found out that he lives way up on the Cape, so Jim here and me went out there.
And then what happened?
Nothing.
If somebody says nothing to me again, I'll... Just a minute.
Yes, sir.
Hello? Commissioner Weston speaking.
Good evening, Commissioner Weston.
Oh, you again?
Yes, Commissioner. The Shadow.
Just a minute. Hold the line. You men wait outside. I'll call you if I need you.
Okay, Commissioner. We'll be right out.
All right, Shadow. Go ahead. What's on your mind?
I called to find out what you know about the death of that visitor out of the prison.
I don't know a thing, and I can't find out anything. The prison officials don't seem inclined to cooperate at all.
Did you know, Commissioner, that a short time ago another visitor died in the death house?
What? Another visitor?
Yes. The first visitor's death passed almost unnoticed. But now, Commissioner, another.
Say, this puts a new light on the whole matter. Calls for immediate action.
No, Commissioner. Hold everything until you hear from me.
Oh, hello, Margot. Come in. And don't take your hat off. We're leaving right away.
I just get to your house and then we have to leave. What's all the haste about?
We're driving up to the prison.
Oh, Lamont, don't tell me you're still thinking of that visitor's death.
Thinking of it. Margot, I've discovered some things that make me feel I've got a big job on my hands. For one thing, I've discovered that another visitor died in that same death house. I've come to the conclusion that there's only one way I can find out what's back of it all.
And how is that?
Here. You see this? It's a visitor's pass.
Yes.
I'm going up there and go through that prison, just as those other men went through, as a visitor.
Oh, no. No, Lamont, you mustn't.
I've got to, Margot. It's the only way.
Well, I'm not usually given to superstition, Lamont, but there's something supernatural, something unearthly about those deaths. I don't want you to expose yourself to the same fate that overtook those poor men. I won't let you do it.
Come now, Margot. Don't let this get the best of you.
Oh, Lamont, I'm afraid. I'm afraid.
This is all right, Margot. Park the car right here. That's the entrance to the prison down there at the bottom of the hill.
Lamont, I wish you wouldn't go through with this. You may be walking to your death.
Don't worry, Margot. You stay here in the car. And remember this. Don't lose your courage, no matter what you may hear or what you may see.
Hello, Kesey. You here again?
Yes, Mr. Harper. I'm taking this gentleman, Mr. Cranston, on a tour of our institution.
You'll have to be searched, sir. Raise your arms, please.
There you are.
When are they going to stop handing out these visitors' passes, Kesey?
Stop? Why should they do that?
Well, I should think they'd be a little more careful because of what's already happened around here.
Oh, nonsense, Mr. Harper. Accidents will happen, you know. No reason why prison routine should be upset unnecessarily.
All right, Mr. Cranston, you're okay.
Thank you.
Open up, Tom.
Right. Okay, Kesey, the place is yours.
Thank you. Come right along, sir.
Don't forget, Kesey. Bring him back alive.
We return you to the second half of The Shadow's exciting adventure in just a moment. In the meantime, homeowners, let me remind you that there's one sure way to save yourselves time, trouble, and money in heating your homes this winter. And that's by insisting on blue coal when you order your next supply of anthracite. With blue coal, you'll get steadier, more dependable heat at far less heating cost. For blue coal is mined from the heart of the northern Pennsylvania field, the richest hard coal deposits in the United States. Each carload, as it comes from the mines, is washed with 12 1/2 tons of water for every ton of coal to remove any existing impurities. Then the coal is carefully sized and finally submitted to a thorough laboratory test by inspectors. Only the coal which meets the high standard of quality is accepted for shipment to blue coal dealers. Blue coal's harmless blue coloring guarantees you that you're getting a coal that has been quality tested. a coal you can be sure is superior in every way. You'll find that blue coal banks more easily and gives you longer firing periods. And it saves you money by burning itself down to a fine ash. Blue coal will heat your home with a minimum of attention and a maximum of heating comfort and efficiency. So call your nearest blue coal dealer for better heat at less cost this winter. You'll find his name listed in the Where to Buy It section of your classified telephone directory under the words Blue Coal.
So, this is the death house, eh, Kesey?
Yes, Mr. Cranston. The end of your prison tour.
Eerie sort of place, isn't it?
Oh, that depends on the viewpoint.
You've worked in this prison a long time, haven't you, Kesey?
I've been here 35 years, Mr. Cranston.
Really?
Yes, sir. 35 years in the service.
Yeah. Is this your regular job, taking visitors through the prison?
Yes, I've been doing this for several years. But it's a poor substitute for the place that rightfully belongs to me.
The place that rightfully belongs to you? What do you mean by that?
Nothing. Nothing at all. I shouldn't even have mentioned it. Come now, this has nothing to do with your tour of the prison.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to pry into your affairs.
Oh, now, pay no attention to what I've said. I'm a bit out of sorts today, nervous, I guess.
Yes, I understand. I suppose I'd be nervous, too, if I did the things you've done.
The things I've done, Mr. Cranston? What do you mean by that?
Oh, nothing, Kesey. I'm just thinking of how I'd be affected by 35 years spent in a place like this. That's all.
It does play on a body's nerves. But a single visit can affect the nerves even more than 35 years.
I'm afraid I don't understand.
Oh, not now, perhaps. But you will. Oh, yes, you will.
Well, it's been a very interesting tour, and I'm much obliged to you. I must be running along now.
But I haven't explained this room, the death house, to you.
Well, that's hardly necessary.
Surely you wouldn't leave without sitting in the electric chair, Mr. Cranston.
My curiosity doesn't go to such extremes.
But every visitor sits in the chair.
Well, Kesey, you've been very thorough in showing me through the prison, so if you feel I'm spoiling your final touch, why, of course I'll sit in your chair.
Ah, good. Sit right down.
All right. There we are.
Now I'll strap you in. Oh, it won't take a minute. There. The chest strap's on already, you see.
Well, you certainly did that with amazing speed, Kesey. Like an expert.
I am an expert, Mr. Cranston. Years ago, I was a member of the execution squad.
Really? Then you participated in the actual executions?
I was one of the men whose job it was to strap the condemned in the chair. There's a man for each strap, you know. Speed is important. The quicker it's done, the less the condemned suffers. I was on the chest strap. That happens to be the most important one.
Well, I can testify to your efficiency. I can hardly move a muscle.
I don't suppose you can. There we are. Snug as a bug in a rug.
But not so comfortable.
By the way, Mr. Cranston, you remember the famous Cosden case, don't you?
Oh, very well. Cosden was brought to justice as a result of the efforts of a character known as the Shadow.
Then surely you must remember me. My picture was in all the newspapers at the time.
Oh, really? I suppose you helped to strap Cosden in the chair.
Oh, no. I executed him.
You what?
Oh, it was a very unusual case. You see, we had a new executioner. At the last moment, the poor fellow's nerve gave away. Oh, there was quite a to-do. Cosden was already strapped in the chair. The warden was beside himself. Somebody had to bring matters to a conclusion. So I volunteered my services.
As executioner?
Yes. Oh, it was quite an experience. First and only time I ever attracted the least bit of attention. But it was the cause of the most bitter disappointment in my whole life.
Disappointment?
You see, I'd hoped that my service would be rewarded with a permanent appointment as executioner.
You had an ambition to make a career of it?
Oh, well, why not? Hundreds of others applied for the job. Oh, it's a position of distinction.
You say you were promised the job?
Yes, but the authorities didn't live up to the promise. They cheated me, robbed me of what was mine.
Oh, I wouldn't let it disturb me so if I were you.
Disturb me? It's rankled in my heart throughout the years and left me with one consuming desire to hate.
Well, a hatred like that can hurt no one but yourself.
You think not, and I know better. I'll make them pay for what they've done to me. I'll make them pay.
I think you have an entirely wrong attitude, Kesey. Well, this has all been very exciting, and Now, if you'll unstrap me and let me out of this electric chair, why...
What? Let you out of the chair, Mr. Cranston? Never. I'm going to give you what I gave the others.
What do you mean, Kesey?
The moment I'm going to pull the switch and fling you into eternity.
Let me out of this chair.
Yes, I'll let you out.
You can't do anything like that. You can't get away with it.
I told you I'll make them pay for what they've done to me.
Get yourself together, man. Why do you want to wreak your vengeance on people like me?
Because you are people, and the people cheated me, and they'll pay for it.
Kesey, you're a fiend.
I'm a cheated man.
That's only your excuse, an excuse you offer your conscience to justify the things you do.
Shut up.
There's only one reason for you doing a thing like this, Kesey. The desire to satisfy a vicious urge in your diabolic nature.
Shut up, I said.
You can't go through with this thing without your excuse. Well, I'm going to take that away from you. I'm going to turn you inside out and show you the fiend you really are.
I won't let you. I'll shut you up. I'll put the headpiece on and cover your face with a death.
Don't you dare!
You can say what you want now. I don't have to hear you. Now, the switch and eternity. You wanted to get out of the chair. Very well. I'll take you out now, Mr. Cranston. I've killed him. He's dead.
Hey, lady. You can't park here all day. You'll have to move along.
I'm waiting for a friend, officer.
Don't you know you're not allowed to park within 500 feet of a prison?
But my friend should be along any minute now.
Where is he?
He's in the prison. He's a visitor.
Visitor. Did you say he's a visitor?
Yes. What's the matter, officer? Why do you stand there like that? Tell me what's the matter. Officer! Oh, Lamont. Lamont.
Can't figure out why people have their water pumps outside the house so they'll freeze. Oh, there you are, Mr. Kesey. I don't expect this water pump will give you any more trouble. Leastwise, not tonight.
You've done a good job, Mort. Sorry I had to get you up on a night like this.
It ain't no pleasure plodding up that there sand road any night. Say, what's the matter with that hound dog of yourn? Doing a powerful lot of howling tonight, ain't he?
Yes, quite a lot.
They say hounds howl like that when somebody dies.
Dies? Yes, I've heard that said.
Jiminy crickets. It's enough to make a body's skin creep. You don't suppose he sees something, do you? A spirit, I mean?
No, it's nothing. Forget it.
Don't reckon even spirits would come up here. Does he often howl like that?
I've only heard him do that twice before. Tonight makes the third time.
Well, there's your water pump. Fit and fine, Mr. Kesey. I'll be getting on down to home now. Good night to you.
Good night, Mort. Rex, here. Come here. In the house with you. Go on. Get. Enough of that now. Lie down. Chicken-hearted old hound. Just like a human, you fear death, too. That fool, Mr. Cranston, I sent to eternity today, he was afraid of death. But that didn't save him. He's no more. He's dead. And I'll send many others after him. What was that? Who's there? Who's out there? Is that you, Mort?
No, Kesey. Mort is well down the hill now. There's nobody out there. I'm right here, in your house. Right here in the room with you.
I know where you are. You're in this house.
You see, I'm not in the closet. I'm right here, behind you.
Who are you? What do you want?
You, Kesey. I've come for you.
Don't you touch me. Don't you come near me.
Surely you're not afraid of death.
Death?
Remember, only fools fear death, Kesey.
Get out! Get out! I'll brain you! I'll kill you here!
You have a poor aim, Kesey.
Get out! Get out!
You see, it's useless, Kesey. You can't destroy what you can't see.
Why have you come here?
To end your criminal career.
I've committed no crime.
I'm going to make you confess to the murder of those innocent visitors at the prison.
I don't know what you're talking
You
about.
cannot lie to me. I know. You killed those men in cold blood.
That's a lie.
I'll admit you're clever. You did your job with fiendish genius. But you're at the end of your rope, Kesey. The only hope left for you is to confess and clear your soul.
No, I'll admit nothing. Leave me alone. I won't confess.
Oh, yes, you will. I'm not through with you yet. Look, Kesey, in this corner of the room, right here, that's it. Now watch carefully, and you'll see someone you met not many hours ago. Look, Kesey, look.
Cranston.
There. Now you see standing before you the man you strapped in the chair a few hours ago.
Go away. Go away. You're dead. You're dead.
Confess, Kesey.
I killed you. You're dead.
Confess.
I won't. Go away.
Confess.
Wait.
Confess.
All right. I did it. I killed him. But I'll never be taken alive. Never.
Lamont, stop playing for just a minute.
Very well, Margot.
No, I can't understand how Kesey could have hidden his crimes for so long.
It's quite understandable, Margot. Each of Kesey's victims seemed to have died from natural causes.
But Lamont,
Now, let me explain, Margot. You see, Kesey was somewhat of a student of the psychology of fear. And this knowledge and the victim's natural fear of a factual instrument of death, the electric chair, enabled Kesey to produce a fear paralysis that stopped the hearts of his victims. They died of heart failure.
Then he didn't actually electrocute them?
He couldn't, Margot. The electric chair is never hooked to the powerhouse except during a legal execution.
But you, Lamont, I thought you were dead.
Well, Margot, I produced a death condition by a little trick in self-hypnosis that I learned from an old Hindu. I let Kesey think he had actually killed me.
Well, it's an amazing case, Lamont. I'm glad it's over.
Yes, Margot, it's over. Kesey was a fiend consumed by the heat of his own hatred. He's now with the men he destroyed. And who knows, perhaps theirs is the final and most complete vengeance.
In a moment, we shall present to you our charming guest of the afternoon. But first, here's John Barclay, Blue Coal's heating expert, with an important message.
Thanks, Ken Robert. Friends, I'm not going to do the usual thing and remind you just how many days are left before Christmas. But I do want you to know that a Blue Coal heat regulator is one present a man can give that he and everyone in his family will certainly appreciate this year and in the years to come. A Blue Coal heat regulator is a thermostat which automatically controls your furnace dampers. It enables your family to keep the entire house at just the temperature they wish, day and night, by simply raising or lowering the thermostat control. And a Blue Coal heat regulator is one present which will pay for itself in the long run. It will save coal, eliminate constant trips to the cellar, and cut down much of the time and trouble of constant furnace attention. So, homeowners, be sure to get in touch with your nearest Blue Coal dealer. Ask him about a Blue Coal heat regulator. It's one Christmas gift that will be long appreciated by every member of your family. I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the sponsors of The Shadow are extremely happy to introduce to you a young lady who devotes her time to the problems of New York City's maladjusted families, from which so often spring undesirable citizens and lawbreakers. It is with great pleasure that I introduce to you Miss Ann Halperin, probation officer of the Family Division of the Domestic Relations Court of the City of New York. Well, that sounds like a big job for such a little lady.
Trying to help other people adjust their difficulties is always a big job, Mr. Robert. But knowing that we are helping parents and children make the most of their lives makes it intensely satisfying work.
And a mighty fine piece of work you're doing, too, Miss Halperin.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. I certainly hope so. I feel that I cannot stress too strongly the part that an unhappy or broken home can play in the formation of criminal habits. The Domestic Relations Court attempts to check the problem at one of its roots, just as you attempt to meet it in another way, by showing your listeners so dramatically and convincingly the folly and complete futility of crime.
Thank you, Miss Halperin. It makes all of us feel we're doing something really worthwhile, especially so knowing that you and your associates in the business of crime prevention believe our efforts are not in vain. It's been a real privilege to have you as our guest this afternoon, and we thank you very much, Miss Halperin. Today's program is based on a story copyrighted by The Shadow magazine. All the characters and all the places named are fictitious. Any similarity to persons living or dead is purely coincidental. The Shadow magazine is now on sale at your local newsstand.
The weed of crime bears bitter fruit. Crime does not pay. The Shadow knows.
Next week, same time, same station, Blue Coal, America's finest anthracite, will again present another thrilling adventure of The Shadow. Be sure to listen and be sure to burn Blue Coal, the solid fuel for solid comfort.
That was The Shadow with Guest of Death, as originally heard December 18th, 1938. And that brings us to the end of this week's episode, but before we sign off, we'd like to remind you that you can catch more of these timeless classics on the WOTR radio network. Our network includes 4 fantastic stations: Old Time Radio USA, Suspense Radio USA, Crime Time Radio USA, and Nightmare Radio USA. Each station is dedicated to bringing you the best in old-time radio entertainment 24/7. To listen to any of these stations, simply visit our website at WOTRradionetwork.com or download our mobile app from your favorite app store. You can also find us on popular streaming platforms like TuneIn, Alexa Skills, and Radio.com, among others. Next week on Classic Radio Rewind, we will feature an episode from The Burns and Allen Show, and we'll also hear from The Lone Ranger. So join us next week for another 1-hour journey into the golden age of radio. For Classic Radio Rewind and the WOTR Radio Network, this is Barry Slinker saying goodbye for now.
Classic Radio Rewind is a production of the WOTR Radio Network. For more Classic Radio Rewind and to listen to any of the WOTR Radio Network stations, go to www.wotrradionetwork.com.